shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
Thank you, thank you. We have already lost 42 minutes of our time, and we need to recognize that. We apologize, Minister, profusely. We had some technical glitches here, which led to this delay. So accept our apology, please. We are in a hybrid type of a workshop here, or session, in that in this room, we have about 200 people in attendance. We had planned for 200. And then on the virtual platform, we are about I was told just a short while ago that we were about 121. We expect 700 people who registered to attend this Indaba. So we believe that people will be trickling in as the program goes. And I think also the delays in terms of attending was due to our own problems that we experienced. So I just needed to advise and inform that we are not alone here. If we have to look at the housekeeping matters, in terms of the bathroom, the bathrooms are, as you exit the main door here, you walk straight down. You will be hit by another wall, a passage going to your left. You will have to walk towards the left, and then you'll start seeing the bathrooms for both males and females on your left-hand side. We have a very beautifully lined program for the day. We will have first the opening and welcome and purpose of the Indaba by the acting DG of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, Ms. Nyaleti Makubele. Then thereafter, we're going to take one of the videos of the EPWP best practice projects. From there, it's going to be the overview on EPWP Phase 4. Because, colleagues, where we are now, we are culminating. We are just about to summit Phase 4, which ends on the 31st of March, 2024. So we have done a lot of work, a lot of ground has been covered from the first year of EPWP Phase 4 up to where we are. So we're going to receive that presentation, which gives us highlights of what is it, what indicators have we managed to achieve of those we had planned, and some of which are part and parcel of your APPs in your respective working spaces, plus the DPWI. From there, there will be the keynote address from the Honorable Minister Sihle Zikalala of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Then there will be tea break, then there will be another performance. From there, in the afternoon moving, we are gonna go into the high-level proposal, because what we are here about is to share the work that has been done through the consultation processes that we undertook to evolve, move the EPWP Phase 4 to EPWP Phase 5. So that work is also the contribution of your own inputs, but we are here to refine and finalize so that when we emerge out of this room, we're speaking with one voice, how we are taking the EPWP Phase 5 forward. From there, then, there will be the sector specialists, colleagues. These are the people who you engaged or engaged you at national, at provincial, and at the local level to ascertain how should the next EPWP be like. How are we resetting the EPWP? So they will be coming on board after the high-level proposal. They will be breaking down, going into detail, how each sector is envisaging its role in the EPWP moving forward to ensure that the program still continues to make the contributions towards alleviation of poverty and also contributing towards the reduction of unemployment levels that are currently hounding the country. So then from there will be the end of the day. We will finish therefore today at 4:30. I hope we will be able to meet that timeline, looking into the fact that we lost almost an hour this morning. With all those words having been said, I will invite the acting DG, Ms. Makubele, to come over and give the opening, welcome and purpose of the Indaba. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As already introduced, my name is Sihle Zikalala. I'm the Acting Director General for the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. I usually have the easiest job of the day, just to welcome you here and give you a purpose in terms of what is it that we expect from this engagement today. From a 700-strong delegation, I expect that we will all engage in the presentations that will be made by the team from Public Works and make meaningful inputs. Let me recognize all the entities that are here, that are represented here today. CJ scribbled, and when I say scribbled, I mean she really scribbled along the piece of paper, and I hope I can get everybody. Let me welcome the City of Joburg. Let me welcome Vembe Municipality, Department of Transport, DID Gauteng, KZN Human Settlements, Mopani District, Briede Valley, KZN Cocter, Eastern Cape Economic Development, and then we also have entities of Public Works, the Council for the Built Environment, Construction Industry Development Board, and the IDT Independent Development Trust. We also have Mpumalanga, Department of Public Works, Roads and Transport, Nkomazi Municipality, the International Labour Organization, KZN Health. Do you see how well represented KZN is? I wish all the other provinces will take note that almost all departments from the KwaZulu-Natal province are represented here today. I also see Intsikayetu Municipality, Northwest Province is also represented. The city of Tshwane is represented. And Gauteng, also Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. And last but not least, on my list, I have Public Works, Roads and Transport, KwaZulu-Natal again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And as I said earlier on, if there is a branch that we had the most fights with this year since the arrival of our new minister is EPWP, it gets very bad when we start discussing what impact are we expecting from the EPWP engagement. So we urge on our team today that as you engage with them, as you give them input in terms of how we can improve and how we can maximize the impact of EPWP, they take it all in and then they come up with a better document so that how do we move EPWP forward and maximize the impact of EPWP. I will be talking on behalf of everyone that when we talk about poverty and employment in South Africa, it affects everyone. And it is upon us, as we are seated here, to come up with plans, not just ideas, tangible plans of how we can improve the lives of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, ADG, and my apology for overstretching myself to a certain extent. I exceeded my limit because I did touch on part of your responsibility area. We will move on. The next item, agenda item, as you will observe, it is the impact of the EPWP. There is a video that we would like to play for you. Where is our IT to assist quickly? The two, Somula, yeah, Somula. Just come.
Oh, the help is not here. You are supposed to help.
I don't know whether you put it in the phone.
No, it's ready to play.
Oh,
We just need to stop screening this. And share this. Share sound.
this is one of the EPWP best practices,
We all expect the police to
colleagues.
serve and protect us, our communities, and society at large at all times. This is more so when we are facing an emergency that could culminate in us or our loved ones being harmed or killed. Most people assume the police are just waiting to respond to their emergencies. In reality, the police also have to carry out administrative and operational activities that seem not directly related to the core functions of policing, but are still important in supporting their work. The South African flagship public employment program, the Expanded Public Works Program, EPWP, has partnered with the South African Police Services, SAPS, whereby EPWP participants have been engaged to carry out some activities that free up the police time to focus on their primary duties of responding to emergencies, investigating crimes, and maintaining public order. Let us hear from the South African Police Service in the Western Cape Province about how this partnership came about and its expected impact.
What motivated us to commence with the Expanded Public Works Program in collaboration with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure was fueled by the need to fill our non-core positions. Currently, what is happening within the SAPS is that our budgets have been constrained over the MTSF period, and we felt that we needed to fill these posts with non-core participants. The objectives of the program are: one, to create workplace exposure for our participants. Secondly, it is to create opportunities for employment. Thirdly, it is to ensure that we are able to focus on our core policing duties and allow our non-core policing duties to be done by administrative personnel. Then we are intent on providing opportunities for experiential learning to place our communities in a position where they are able to go out and compete in the job market. In terms of employing people within this program, we have set a target of just over 3,000 participants we'd want to employ in this program. To date, as we stand, we've placed 1,068.
Whenever you see a police car, it may not have crossed your mind that there is a team ensuring they are maintained and are roadworthy, so that the officers can carry out their work effectively. We will now hear from the team that maintains the fleet in the Western Cape Province.
At the time when they arrived, we were well over 700 vehicles on the premises. As we speak today, we are in the region of 430 vehicles, so their presence here in 2 months has made a huge difference.
I have 2 kids that I'm supporting. If I was not on the training, I'm not sure what I'd be doing. Finding a job is a bit of a challenge. The training program is a great opportunity.
There's 70% males and 30% females. Because in the industry now, it's becoming a lot of females also want to be diesel mechanics and mechanics.
When you see police officers dressed in their uniform and using specialized equipment and materials, such as body bags after a fatal incident, you may not realize the value chain that has enabled these resources to be available when needed. Let us now hear from the team at the Western Cape South African Police Service Warehouse to find out how the introduction of EPWP participants has impacted on their work.
We have 3 warehouses: the sundries warehouse, the stationery warehouse, and the clothing warehouse. So all the police stations order their clothes from our warehouses. I do have 52 members that are working with me, and I have 67 workers from the expanded public works program. I'm 24 years at the provisioning warehouse, and this is the first time that we can see a difference. I almost cried because it's really amazing for me. Yes.
I'm a receptionist at SAP Supply Chain, and I feel very good every day. I'm looking forward to the learning experience, mind you. In the past, the influence I had on school impacted my life, where I ended up on streets entertaining all kinds of wrong things. I ended up in jail cells. I never thought that, you know, I had a desire to become a mother or become something in life. After I was locked up though, when I came out, I decided that this is not for me. And that actually encouraged me that I need to do something with my life. That I went and I applied, you know, at the education department. Later I've been called to say that I've got a job as a teaching assistant. But then what happened was, when my fingerprints came back, then the principal said that I couldn't work. After the layoff at school, the colonel, she took me in at the supply chain. It's really a pleasure working with him, laying down a life, you know, and being a mother. So looking forward to the future, being able to maintain my own life, getting back what the enemy stolen from me.
Do you ever ask yourself, who is responsible for cleaning police vehicles? Let's hear from the source.
The participants have been trained in the use of the high-pressure cleaners and the vacuums, and the purpose of this is also for them to take training to the communities where they can train those people and even start their own businesses.
The expanded public works program participants who are engaged by the police are managed by the Independent Development Trust, who provide technical support to the EPWP. What exactly do they do?
The program, in terms of the non-state sector and the expanded public works program, is guided by the ministerial determination, which identifies the criteria for selection onto the program. There's a target in terms of demographics as well, in terms of the number of women, in terms of youth and disability that are included on the program. The NPO partners will then work within the communities to identify the relevant categories in terms of appointment.
One of our beneficiaries became a lawyer. One of our participants also, who was studying towards town planning, right now currently is employed by the city of Cape Town in Pam. So they will come to work here as an administrator during the day, and later on go on to school. And they have used exactly this stipend to actually pay their way.
Is it possible for someone who is on a potentially wrong path in life to become an exemplary citizen and even end up joining the police service? First, let's visit a place that inspires young people to be law-abiding citizens.
The Chrysalis Academy is a non-profit organization, and essentially what we do is to be a platform for young people to unleash their potential. So there's a very strong focus on active citizenship. You are coming to develop yourself, access your inner potential, and then what are you going to do to change things in your community?
Now let's hear from the police about the chances of reformed youth joining the South African Police Service.
For 40 of their students to be prospective police officials is a massive, massive achievement, and is a clear display of what we are able to achieve if we work in synergy and display the necessary vision to achieve a better society.
Thank you to each and everybody who's always seen the best in me. That's really hope for the future. Thank you.
There you are. Can we have a round of applause? The video was developed by the ILO on behalf of the department and the branch in particular. You will recall that the ILO provides technical support to the EPWP program. So it was developed with their assistance. Colleagues, I hope this makes sense. We can see how far the EPWP can go in terms of improving the lives of those who participate in it. But most important is how the support that the EPWP provides can actually be rolled out to impact positively the lives of the communities. If you noticed and you listened to the video, the participants actually relieve the officials, the police, to focus on their core duties. Instead of them having to do administrative work and having to clean up, their cars and all of that, they actually have the support from the EPWP. More than anything else, the participants are being trained, so they go through the development pipeline where we would like for them to be. They should not remain in the EPWP forever. They have to be provided with capacity and skills to enable them to participate in the formal economy, thus leaving the EPWP. The next item, colleagues, that we are going to take now is the overview of the EPWP Phase 4 by Mr. Ignatius Ario, Chief Director, EPWP Infrastructure in the Department of Public Works. Thank you. I'm trying to find it. Is it this one?
Are you sharing it?
Yeah. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Ario.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Mr. Sihle Zikalala, the Acting DG, Ms. Makubele, DDG EPWP, Ms. Abrahams, DDGs present, senior officials from the different spheres of government, from national, provincial, and local sphere as well. Good morning. I will be giving an overview of the EPWP Phase 4 in terms of our current progress, just to check where we are, noting as the program director said that we are coming towards the end of EPWP Phase 4, so it's just important to take stock and see where we are as we plan for EPWP Phase 5. The presentation outline will cover the relevance of EPWP, component programs comprising the EPWP. We shall have just some examples of EPWP lived experiences, sources of funding on EPWP, the targets for EPWP Phase 4. We shall look at performance of EPWP during Phase 4. We shall also look at EPWP midterm review, some of the recommendations that are emerging, and then we shall have conclusion. Just in terms of the relevance of EPWP, this was just looking at the high unemployment that we have within the country. If you look at the labor force that we have, the 2.2 million who make up the labor force, that was by the end of 18-19, 6.2 million were unemployed. By the end of the 22-21 financial year, the number jumped to 7.9 million. And there you can also see the effects that we had of COVID. There is an increase in employment rate that rose from 27.3% to 34%. We're currently standing at about 34% unemployment, which is quite a high number. So it's very important that we have programs like the EPWP that contribute towards the reduction of unemployment. Noting that the EPWP is one of the initiatives that government is implementing. In addition to the different policies that government is implementing in terms of EPWP, it won't be the source of reduction of unemployment on its own, but the other public employment programs, there are also economic policies that government is pursuing as well. So we see that the EPWP is relevant because we have to deal with the high unemployment challenge. And then this slide just looks at some of the programs that we have within EPWP. This looks at the environment and culture sector. And here we're looking at statistics from the 22-23 financial year. So we have programs like coastal management, We have parks and beautification, sustainable energy programs. We have sustainable land-based livelihood programs. And in each of these programs, we just give a flavor of what the programs have been able to achieve. For example, coastal management, number of work opportunities reported in the 22-23 financial year is 3,043 work opportunities. The average duration was 87 days. Percentage of women was 60.9 or almost 61%, which is higher than our minimum target of 55%. Percentage of youth was 60%. Also here, this program met the target for youth. Our target is 55%, and then we had persons with disabilities 0.9%. And here, this is something that we need to address. How do we increase on the participation of persons with disabilities within our programs? And then the average labor intensity was 61.9, 62%. And here, what we mean by average labor intensity would be the percentage of the project budget that goes into wages. And then the full-time equivalents per million rand of expenditure. And full-time equivalent, one full-time equivalent is the same as 230 person days of work or 1 person day of work on the finances that we have, that we get a bigger bang for our buck. So that's important. So this just gives an example with the colleagues online. Apologies. All right. Can I have help here? I can't see the presentation here. All right. Apologies for the slight delay. So I was just giving an example of some of the programs, and we just wanted the colleagues online to also be able to see the presentation. It's critical that we also have the different colleagues online just to join us and just to acknowledge the also participants online. And so we have 201 that have joined at the moment. Apologies for the delay. So this gives the different types of programs that we have. Here we have the infrastructure sector. Looking at some of the programs, we have the contractor development program. We have the large projects program within the infrastructure sector. We have municipal infrastructure. We have national departments and state-owned enterprises. So this also gives an example of what the different programs have been able to achieve. And as we move into EPWP Phase 5, we want to follow a programmatic approach where we ensure that the different programs that are implemented using a programmatic approach. We have similar indicators. We are also able to evaluate the different programs and see how they are performing, but also enhance the performance of the different programs. Then we also have additional programs in the infrastructure sector, like the National Youth Service Program. We have the Provincial Roads Program. We have the Rural Roads Program. We also have the Provincial Infrastructure, which looks at non-roads. Then within the Community Work Program, there are different programs that are implemented within the Community Work Program. The number of work opportunities that they contributed in the 22-23 financial year was 214,000 work opportunities, which is quite substantial. The average duration was 95. Percentage of women was 80. I think what is commendable here is the average labor intensity was 80%. So it means that most of the funding for the community work program goes into wages. And this is what you want to do so that you can optimize in terms of poverty alleviation. And in terms of the average full-time equivalents per million, 30.8, almost 31 full-time equivalents. Then we have the NPO program, which is part of the non-state sector as well. A number of work opportunities reported, 117,278, the average duration 59. Percentage of women 70.6%, quite good. Percentage of youth 55.4%, also quite good. Person with disabilities 1.1%, and then the average labor intensity 74.5, almost 75%, which is also quite substantial. And then full-time equivalents per million is 30. So this just gives a flavor of the different programs that we have within EPWP. And then the social sector, we have the community safety program, early childhood development program, mass participation program, home community-based care, the national school nutrition program. I think just to highlight, for example, on the national school nutrition program, you see the number of work opportunities reported was 44,278. The average duration was 123. You see that in the social sector that the duration of work opportunities is much longer. Percentage of women, 95.2%, which is quite high. Percentage of youth, 23.4%. And then person with disability, 0.3%. The average labor intensity is 97.9%. That's 98%. So you would say that on this program, most of the funding went to wages, and then in terms of full-time equivalents, it's 29. So you see that the different programs have different strengths. You find some of the programs are stronger in terms of participation of women, some are stronger in terms of participation of youth. So we need to make sure that we across the different programs, we are able to ensure that the different programs meet the minimum requirements, but also what is working well we strengthen, and where with the areas of where there are challenges, we are able to rectify that and to strengthen. This slide here just gives an example of some of the lived experiences in terms of EPWP. We normally conduct longitudinal studies in terms of EPWP. And just quoting one of the reports, the second wave that was released in June 2002, it confirmed that the EPWP was appropriately targeted at those who don't have a post-matric participation, which is in line with the EPWP Phase 4 business plan. Many of the participants were aware that they are working the EPWP, 69%, the majority were aware that they're working on the program. So we're seeing a lot of, and then 64% in wave one were showing that they'd been employed on a full-time basis. In wave one, 26% of the youth reported being unemployed. So you see that from the presentation, we also go down to check with the participants. What's your experience on EPWP? Had you worked before? Had you been employed? What the analysis or the research is showing us is that we are targeting the right people in terms of EPWP. We have some participants who are trained in some of our programs, like the National Youth Chefs Program, giving a testimony on how the program changed their lives. We have Mr. Jerry Mukwena, who was trained as a tourism youth monitor. So we want to profile many of the participants. There are a lot of participants whose lives have been changed because of the EPWP. So it's quite critical. And then just the last point there, the quarterly labor survey of quarter 2 of 22-23 financial year on the contribution of EPWP to the labor market confirmed through a linear regression model the positive and significant impact of the program, participation on future employability. It showed that 39% of those who had left the EPWP had secured written employment programs beyond the program. So this is what we want to see, that even when participants have left the EPWP, they're able to secure employment. Okay. Just in terms of the sources of funding for EPWP, it's important to realize that the EPWP leverages off the funding that a public body would get directly for EPWP. So there shouldn't be implementation of EPWP. This just gives a snapshot of the different funding we have for EPWP. On an annual basis, on average, about 25 billion is used for EPWP. And in terms of the So this gives a different flavor of the different budgets that we have. So on average, 25 billion is spent on EPWP projects on an annual basis, and that was just giving a snapshot if you look at the 2022-23 financial year. Okay, if you look at the performance of EPWP, in terms of, as of October, the 6th of October, against our target for the financial year, we had reported 610,808 of October, but you can see that for this financial year, we're already more than halfway the target for the current financial year. Then in the broader context, if we look at EPWP Phase 4, against the target, the 5 million target, we've reported 4,551,601 work opportunities by the 6th of October. So that is quite significant. We are well on our way to meet the target. We need to ensure that in the 2 quarters, the remaining 2 quarters, we report 448,399 work opportunities in the second half of this financial year, so that we are able to meet our targets for EPWP Phase 4. Currently, the numbers would reflect that we're at 91% of the 5-year target. With men with abilities, 43,135 work opportunities have been filled by persons with disabilities. We want to do much more to ensure that, especially in terms of the demographics, that we are able to meet the targets. If we look at the different spheres of government, in terms of the progress on EPWP Phase 4, in terms of the targets, national spheres achieved, in terms of the targets, it would be 95.5%. If you look at it cumulatively, the provincial sphere has achieved 116%. That is if you look at the current financial year. And the municipal sphere has reported 88.8%, which is about 89%. And then when you look at the provinces, and here we are combining the performance of the municipal and provincial spheres, you'll see that some provinces have already exceeded their targets. If you look at the current financial year, if you combine the municipalities and provincial spheres, the Eastern Cape is 115% already. Free State almost 80%. So many of the provinces are on their way to meeting the targets for the current financial year. We need to make sure that we meet our targets for the current financial year in terms of the EPWP targets. Okay, and then looking at the demographics in terms of EPWP Phase 4, what we've achieved so far, if cumulatively in terms of the women target, most of our participants have been women. We've achieved 69.1%, which is higher than our minimum target of 55%. In terms of youth, we've achieved 40.5%, which is almost 41%. It's below our target of 55%, but some programs have been able to achieve their target. So it's an area we need to take forward. How do we increase participation of youth? But you see that some programs, like the NPO component, has achieved 58.8%, which is almost 60% of the target. And then personal disabilities cumulatively, we've achieved 0.9%. Our target is 2%. One of the things we need to come up with is how do we improve the participation with the personal disabilities, noting that we are working on a framework for the inclusion of personal disabilities, and that is something that we believe that will help. That is something that we need to discuss as we discuss for EPWP Phase 5. How can we make improvements in those areas? And then this slide here shows the average duration of the work opportunities. You see that most of the work opportunities, that the different programs have different durations. The average would be 81 days. Some of the programs have longer durations, like the social sector. On average, programs or projects last for 131 days, which is quite the duration of our work opportunities. Because if people work longer on projects, you have a greater impact in terms of poverty alleviation. People earn an income for a longer duration. So it's important that as we design our programs, we ensure that they are of sufficient duration as well. This just looks at the composition of the programs. You'll see that a lot of the work opportunities were reported from the community work program, about 23%. You also see a significant proportion being reported from provincial roads, 11%. From the rural roads program, it's 9%. If you combine the two, on roads maintenance, it's about 20%. And then you have a breakdown of the different programs. So it's important that we realize which are the different programs within EPWP Phase 4, which are the programs that are reporting a significant number of work opportunities, how can we enhance those programs, and then programs that may not be reporting many work opportunities, how can we strengthen them going forward. And then this slide just gives the coverage of the different programs. We are able to geolocate our programs, and this we look at against the different, we can map this against different filters like poverty, backlogs and things like that, so that we're able to see indeed is the program, what is our spatial distribution of the program, are we targeting the program right as we implement. It's important that we target the program in the right areas. Okay. Just looking at some of the achievements in terms of Phase 4, in terms of income transfer in EPWP Phase 4, more than 48 billion has been transferred as wages, which is quite significant. Almost 49 billion has been paid to participants in terms of wages. We've also had EPWP training as well. In Phase 4, more than 21,000 participants have been trained funded through the National Skills Fund. We've also had public bodies that have funded training. 320,000, more than 320,000 participants have been provided with training opportunities, mainly funded by the public bodies. So it's important that as we plan for Phase 5, that we maximize on these, some of these strengths, that we plan for training in our projects. Many of the work opportunities, the duration would want to have longer. We've also had enterprise development initiatives, mainly hampered by the short duration of the programs, but we've had 690 enterprises that have received support. More than 350 public bodies have participated on the EPWP, and also EPWP Phase 4 has seen the development of the draft EPWP policy as one of the achievements. We've also done a midterm review on EPWP, and the midterm review has given us a number of recommendations of some of the things that we need to consider. Just highlighting some of the few things. We need to look at our logic framework. We need to update our log frame. We need to see how we can improve on our target setting in some areas. We need to see how we can attract the youth onto our programs. We need to see how we can promote the inclusion of persons with disabilities. The midterm review also confirmed that indeed it's better to have the EPWP policy completed. And also it says that we need to see how we can be able to have flexibility within our programs, considering the social economic conditions. And then also the midterm review is also advocating that we strengthen training. It's also saying that we need to look at enterprise development. We also need to look at planning and incorporating our targets in the annual performance plans of the different public bodies. Just in conclusion, the EPWP Phase 4, it's showing that there is need, the program is still relevant. We still need to ensure that we implement the program. We need to be able to ensure that we continue targeting the programs, increasing and strengthening our different programs. We're on our way to meet the target for EPWP Phase 4 in terms of the work opportunities. We also need to look at issues like closing the gap between the EPWP minimum wage and the national minimum wage. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ario. I thought I was going to take a few comments and questions in light of the fact that I realized I was just being pedantic about time, but unfortunately we can't do that, and we have to accommodate our minister to come and give us the keynote address, because we cannot afford to forfeit that important element. He has to leave very shortly. He's got a flight to catch. So over to you, Minister.
Let's be seated, colleagues. Thanks. My sincere apology for arriving on time.
In the room to mute your speakers. People online can't hear. Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director. And thank you for leading us quite well in singing the national anthem. The Director General of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, Ms. Nyeleti Makubele, Senior Management of the Department of Public Works, as well as all other departments that are here. The national departments and provincial departments, municipalities and state-owned entities, and our honored guest from the international organizations, in particular, the International Labour Organization. We have assembled physically and virtually today to engage on proposal for our nation's future through the extended Public Works program. And the task of us gathered here over the next 2 days is to concretize proposal for the Phase 5 of EPWP. Our nation, like many others, grapples with the mammoth challenge of unemployment, especially amongst the youth. Indeed, some of our young adults who are now around 40s have never had the work opportunities. The ILO reports that as of 2023, the global unemployment rate is estimated at 5.7%. However, in South Africa, we are faced with stubbornly high unemployment rate of about 32.6%. In quarter 2, youth unemployment rate remain at an alarming level of about 60.7%. This is a reality that we need to confront through all programs that we have. Added to this is the fact that we are dealing with what will be regarded as a structural unemployment. And thus, the essence of the EPWP is to have an intervention in that regard. When you are faced with structural unemployment, unlike seasonal or other type of unemployment, the structural is when your education system does not produce what is required by your industries. And therefore, there is a skills gap, hence the conceptualization of EPWP. We should still remember that EPWP is work opportunities, different from full employment, meant to provide and try to address 2 fundamental issues. The first one is to alleviate poverty. And the second one is to provide skills so that those people will either be able to be employed or sustain themselves or enter into enterprise development. And therefore, we should continue to engage with that understanding on why EPWP was conceptualized. Now, the narrative of EPWP Phase 5 is therefore not just about combating unemployment, but it is about rewriting the story of our youth from one despair to the one of hope, from stagnation to growth, and from dependency to self-reliance. And the dignified, creative, and dynamic South African youth has always been crystal clear. They don't want hands out, but they need to be empowered so that they will be able to sustain themselves. Whilst we acknowledge a number of successes in the EPWP program, EPWP recently, we have to move beyond quantity to quality. So beyond the stats that we always refer to, whether when we count unemployment rate, they are human beings. And we must think of those human beings. We cannot just count numbers without an impact. If we talk about numbers, those job opportunities should equally find expression through development. And just a quick one, maybe the presidency, I must say that that contribution we have made, partly I think I concur with it, that there are other initiatives that we may need to review as we go forward and ensure impact, but also not replace other organs of the state and their mandate. We're here as senior managers and state bureaucrats not to arrange the sinking Titanic. We're entrusted with an enormous responsibility, a task that requires us to be patriotic, professional cadres of public servants. These are the public servants that feel the pain. Maybe let me say these are the public service servants who should feel the pain and respond to the cries of our unemployed youth, women, and the general populace. We should be public servants who assist with the challenge and the thinking out of the box. Be creative, and therefore anything less, any laziness and foot dragging is not short of being treasonal, and it is, in fact, undermining the essence of the program. It cannot be business as usual, and we cannot continue on meetings and meetings without ensuring that we roll out the implementation, which should be also impactful. And therefore, as we conceptualize Phase 5 of EPWP, our core focus should be on ensuring that we move just from the creation of job opportunities to a sustainable EPWP program. When I say a sustainable one, it should fulfill the two reasons why it was initiated. And the two reasons, the first one was to ensure that we alleviate poverty. And the second one, we ensure that we provide some skills or opportunities for beneficiaries to be self-sustainable. Now, in that regard, once a person is enrolled in the EPWP, we should expect that that person will find himself in a sustainable way to survive, even after the EPWP. We have on numerous occasions unpacked how we could achieve that. We have also, in the same understanding, unpacked how could we make impact in the service delivery. So in the interest of time, let me just focus on two issues. Subsequent to the 2019 general elections, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa implored on all government officials to embrace Khawuleza model. And in appealing to all of us, he was saying we must quicken service delivery and ensure that there are pragmatic interventions. And we must ask ourselves as we end the fourth phase whether we've achieved that. How many of the beneficiaries are able to sustain themselves, those who were enrolled in the program at the beginning of the phase 4? How many have gone back to being unemployed? And therefore we should ensure when we discuss this, we are critical and we try to disabuse ourselves of comfort, but try to make a holistic analysis. We have called for the EPWP to be restructured to make impactful and contribute to service delivery. So the first point among the two that I want to make is that of the appeal. Who should we be? We should be public servants who adhere to this call of Khawuleza. Do things quick and do things accordingly in a manner that impacts. The second point, we should restructure, review EPWP, and among the other things, there are 5 issues that we need to address as we go forward. The first one is the lack of coordination and ineffectiveness of structures in charge of implementing EPWP. From the ministerial level to technical level, but also structures should be structures that do not meet to tick just for compliance. They should discuss and implement. The second, if we are to review, is to improve implementation framework, address issues of recruitment. There should be no perception of political interference, no perception of nepotism. And we should ensure that there is effective monitoring and accountability. Right now, maybe at a level of the government, the public sector, we can account to a certain extent on programs we are implementing. But on non-government sectors, I'm not sure to which extent we can account. We may be funding, but really not benefiting enough. And that's why I wish to underline this as a second point: improve implementation framework from recruitment, implementation, and ensure effective monitoring and accountability. The third, in reviewing EPWP, we must define impactful projects that, whilst providing jobs, opportunities, and skills, they will also contribute in improving the living conditions of the people. So these projects must be also accounting to service delivery. The fourth, we must improve training. And in that we mean we must provide meaningful skills, but also be cognizant of the value for money, cost benefit. It cannot be that we spend a lot for people who are trained in 6 months or in 3 months, but we will spend to the tune of thousands and thousands. And that's why we would want to emphasize that we do have training institutions within government who can contribute in a less and in a more cost-effective way to provide the trainings of that we require for the participants in the EPWP. Finally, the fifth area is that of ensuring proper exit strategy through linking beneficiaries with permanent employment or ensure that they become entrepreneurial. In this regard, Public Works, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure cannot relegate its mandate to be of reporting on targets than contributing in building job opportunities. This will be a laissez-faire approach which undermines the essence of EPWP, but more than that, a developmental state itself. So we have to ensure that Public Works is well positioned to coordinate in each and every sphere, especially nationally and provincial. Coordinate, but also contribute in creation of jobs. You cannot be just a referee in a game that you are not interested in. You should be effective and participate. As I conclude, we have a little bit of time to achieve our target for Phase 4. While we imagine Phase 5, we should ensure that what we can implement and do better in Phase 4, we introduce it now. The future is the future, hence they normally say, tomorrow remains the future. And therefore, when we plan for the fifth or the Phase 5, we should plan, but what we can do now must be done. And therefore, if we speak about the impact, we would want to challenge you. Let us start now, and don't postpone that to start under the fifth phase of EPWP. One scholar once opined, and he said it was John Sarr. He opined and says, the future is not some place we are going to, but one we are creating. Depends to it are not found by made, are not found but made, and the activities of making them change both the maker and the destination. Close quote. If we should be in schools because of poverty. But we should think of women who are unemployed, eager to get these opportunities. And therefore, let us understand that between us is poverty and the promise of the future. And let's choose to be on the side of the progress. Let's choose to build a prosperous South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for that powerful message, giving us the insights into what Cabinet is expecting of the program, and also giving us insights in terms of what you, as the lead department or coordinating department's minister, we thank you for your strong words. I don't think I need to repeat the minister's thank you, Minister, and Minister is now exiting the plenary. Another round of applause, please. Thank you. I wouldn't want to dilute the minister.